I think it's very difficult to, of course, generalize about anything in India. But I think it's true that Indian women are very strong and very powerful. Um, and you can imagine that if they were given the opportunity, the chance to really express that strength and that power, they would be much more than what you see. Because right now, quite a lot of women are subordinated. But I think also the thing is that many Indian men are caught in this role of being the male. And they cannot deal with women who are their equals. They can deal with women who are soft and gentle and who they can bully and who are their inferiors. But the moment they are confronted with a woman who is their equal or who is their superior in hierarchy or in a job or something, they react very strongly, and they sometimes can be very aggressive. They can be quite rude. They can, because they don't know how to deal with this sort of thing. But I don't think that that is only a characteristic of Indian men. I think very often men everywhere find it very difficult to deal with a strong woman. They can take a woman who will look up to them, who will be nice to them, who they can bully, or who they can dominate. So I think there's that, but also Indian men are brought up very much to be mother's children, and there is a very, very strong relationship with the mother. It's very ambivalent also, because you don't know, for example, when an Indian male marries, the jealousy and the clash between the mother-in-law and the daughter-in-law is almost immediate. And sometimes it makes you think about that there is maybe something sexual and psychological at the bottom of this which is not being acknowledged. Because in terms of sexuality, people are, it's not a free society sexually. So, I don't know. I mean, I have a friend whose mother lives in the house with him and his wife, and he has now been transferred to Bombay. And the mother is completely devastated and wants to move to Bombay to look after her son. But actually, if anybody should move out to Bombay, it's the wife, not the mother. But she doesn't even consider that the son needs his wife around. He needs her. As far as she's concerned, he needs her. The support structures are so few. They know, they make what I think is a very intelligent and practical decision. When they don't become rebels, because rebellion, okay, you can be a rebel, you can leave your home, you can get out on the street, but then what? You're not, you've learned nothing to get your job. This is not a society which will easily take to a divorced, destituted, abandoned woman. What will you do? And there are no homes you can go to, no support structures, and so on. So in the end, you know that you will be alone. And therefore, you just take the safer option. At least you have a structure around you. You might have children. You might have a home. You might have a family. Every society finds its own level of indifference towards its women or dismissal of its women. And the cultural forms that it takes are different everywhere. But yes, it is true that these days the woman is expected to bring a dowry. In the early days, it used to be the opposite. She earned a dowry. The man had to pay. It was called Stridhan, which means the wealth of women. And the man had to pay the woman and her family in order to marry her. We don't know when the phenomenon of dowry started, but studies have shown that it had quite a lot to do with the changing land patterns, changing patterns of ownership brought in by the British. When the woman really became marginalized out of property, for example in the Punjab, agricultural property and so on, because they were worried that if women were to get property, the land would get fragmented when families divide up and so on. So they were left out of it in the law. And there were many things like that, and then some compensation had to be given to the woman. So dowry came in. Now, in many ways, dowry has become something which young men who are marrying see as their right. And they see it as a quick way of getting money to set themselves up in life. And again, I would say 15, 20 years ago, it used to be a fairly urban middle class phenomenon. But it has, our society is so peculiar and so complex that in a sense it became something to copy, something to desire, something to, the English word is emulate. Because by doing so, if you were poor, you could aspire to an upper class status. You could make it seem as if you belonged to a higher class because you were taking dowry or giving dowry. So the phenomenon started to spread even among classes where it was not earlier there, even among communities like the Muslims who don't believe in dowry, or the Christians, and now it has become extremely widespread. So it's a difficult thing to tackle. We have a law against it, but the law can only work if there are people to make it work.